Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. In today's video, we are going to be going over a no BS startup for the brand new FS Reborn Embraer Phenom 300E. So this is for our beginner simmers out there. This aircraft has a lot of realism and a lot of in-depth stuff with it. So this video is for those who just want to get a basic grips of the aircraft, basic controls, and how to start the aircraft without having to go through all the crazy realism settings and everything like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and enter the cockpit. Now, assuming you've done your walk around, you would have removed your gear pin, your engine covers, your pitot tube covers, and your chocks. Then you can open up your door and enter the cockpit, or you can click Shift-C to enter like so. Now, as you can see, we are in a cold and dark state. We have no power to anything. We do have the Garmin G3000 avionics on board this aircraft. So this is a, if you've flown like the King Air or the Vision Jet or even the Pilatus PC-12, you will find avionics like this on board. But let's continue. So coming over here to our EFB. So unlike the other no BS startups we've done before, usually we start with the batteries. However, what we have to do with this one is we have to go to our ground ops and we have to select a GPU. And then you connect it. This aircraft does have the ability to start off the batteries. However, I do not like doing that personally, so we will be using the GPU to make sure we have power to the aircraft. So now that we have that done and connected, we will come down here to the left-hand side. Right here is our electrical panel. We will go battery on, 1 and 2. We are going to go engine generator on, 1 and 2. And then we are going to connect our GPU. So everything's going to come online. This does have an automatic alignment, just like your typical G3000. Over here, we are going to click the right-hand soft key, and that's going to bring up our engine information and our maps and such, maps and traffic. So while that all begins to wake up, what I like to do is I'll come up here. This is where our lights are. We are going to arm our emergency lights, and we are going to turn on our nav lights. Also, depending on time of day and whatnot, you can mess with this stuff up here. I always like to put our cabin lights on passenger control because they may not want it to be bright or dark depending on time of day. Same with cockpit panel, so this will also mess with how bright you want everything to be. So you can adjust that to your liking.
System test, okay.
So that's one of the TAWS system tests. We will be going over that stuff shortly. So thankfully with this, you can mess with just the testing of the systems, which is a nice little touch. It doesn't really, you can do it or you don't have to do it. I like doing it just because it's really simple. So now we have all that lights on. We're going to come over here and we're going to turn on bleed engine 1 and 2. We're going to put those on auto. And now what we're going to do is we're going to begin the initialization of the aircraft. So depending on what you have, so if you are running SimBrief, you will be operating through here, our FS Reborn tablet. You can import all of your information from SimBrief, and then you can send that over to the avionics of the G3000. If you are using the default electronic flight bag that comes with the game, you can send this, depending on how you're flying, you can send it to ABC and Avionics, or you can send it over to the Avionics. So before we mess with any routing or anything, what we are going to do is we're going to come over here to our ground ops and we are going to configure our weights and fuel. So depending on your flight plan, it will depend how much fuel you take. So this flight is taking us to Fort Lauderdale, so we are going to need approximately, I believe it was 315 gallons, I believe it was. So you can precise load or you can use this. So I'm just going to go slightly over a little bit just to have a little extra. So 331 gallons in each tank. I'm also going to set the passenger weight. I'm sorry, the pilot weight. So I like to keep it around there. It's a little skinny guy. And then you can also load your passengers as needed. You can also load through SimBrief should you need. For today's video, we are going to use the load instant, which will give us the fuel required. And it will also load the payload over here. So now that that's set up, we're going to come down over here to our FMS, FMC, however you want to call it. So the first thing we got to do is we got to come over here, we got to test everything, have that be in progress. I'm also going to have our test over here, have that ready, have these going at the same time, speed up the process. Okay, next. So that's going in progress.
Pause system test. Okay.
I'm going to test our traffic. Go to engine settings. So we're just going to set our data. I'm just going to
system test passed.
Set this like this and it'll send over there. So once that sends, that'll confirm that, and then what we will do is we will come over to our flight plan. Data has been accepted for our engines, so that confirms that. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that the departure procedure, which we have a runway 9 right departure using Calvin 3 via the stays waypoints here. We're just going to go through and we're just going to double check that everything looks okay. So next we have en route here, which everything looks to be okay here. Confirm, and here's our arrival. So then our arrival right here. Everything looks okay. And then ILS Fort Lauderdale. Waypoints look to be correct. Everything looks to be where it needs to be. You can even see our managed altitude, so on and so forth. And it also, you can also mess with that. So if everything is incorrect with managed altitudes, you can adjust accordingly. Which it seems to be. Everything seems to be correct thus far. Now that you're good with that, we'll click next. Mode, you can have it on manual if you want. I like keeping it on FMS. Now we're going to configure the weights. So the aircraft, basic weight, that usually does not change. Aircraft loading. So we are going to make sure that we go over to our tablet here, which is going to be Shift 4. We just want to make sure that the weights are correct. So we have 143 pounds on the pilot, and then fuel we can sync. So pilot 143, enter. No passengers or cargo. Fuel, fob sync. So that's going to sync what we need it to be. Now, obviously, you can set your fuel reserves and taxi as you need. If you are one of those guys that runs with unlimited fuel, you don't have to worry about that. Origin, so this is going to be our takeoff data. So it's confirmed that our takeoff weight matches. So we have 15,944 pounds of takeoff weight. 15,925. So we're within a couple pounds. That's not going to make too much of a difference in this aircraft. So next, good there. takeoff, so it's going to ask for speed bugs. We will mess with that here momentarily. That's good. Next, FMS, aircraft loading is good. Go to the weather. Now you can sync and load the METAR weather right there, so that's all good for that. So now we know our altimeter is 3020, so we will go up to the avionics here in a second and select takeoff, runway 9 right, shows your elevations, slopes, use flaps 1, ice protection, don't need the alignment, takeoff data. So this is the calculated speeds for V1 rotation and V2. Then we will click accept takeoff speeds. And then we go to next. So we can see that everything has been loaded into there. Now that we have done all of the testing here, we can accept our initialization. Now we are going to, if you wish to do, you can do your testing of certain systems using this switch here.
Fire, fire. Fire, fire.
I'm only going to do a couple of them and do my two favorite ones, the fire and the stall protection.
Stall, stall. Stall, stall.
Alright, now, assuming that you did all your tests or you don't really care, then you will move on to the next part. So we said 3020. 3020 set once, set twice. Then you're going to see a warning come up saying that they're out of sync, but that's okay because we are in the process of moving that. Looks like I'm beating the timer. 3020, just like that. So now our altimeters are set. And what I'm going to do is we are going to check our initial altitude. So if you are flying with ATC, you obviously enter in your IFR first clearance for altitude. So this here, it says 3100, so we are going to put, I'm just going to put 3000, just like that. FMS speed is going to be controlled, the speed is going to be controlled via the FMS, so we don't need to worry about this at all. Alright, coming back down, so we're going to go into our settings here. So we're going to click on both of these. So the right side, we're going to go aircraft information, we're going to click electrical, just like that. And then we are going to click our, again, aircraft information, and then status. So we have these pulled up right here. I'm going to check, make sure we have good pressures for oxygen. Obviously there's not going to be any hydraulic pressure because we do not have the pumps on. So let's go ahead and switch those bad boys on. Come on. Sometimes you might need to move your flight stick out of the way, or you can make it invisible so it's a little bit easier for you. Fuel pumps, we're going to switch those bad boys on. Make sure our lights are, our passengers' seatbelts are good. Obviously if you're not running any passengers, choose if you want. I like to run it on. So now that we are at that position, we are pretty much good to start the engines. Now thankfully you don't have to worry too much about getting the ignition start and everything like that. The Phenom makes it very, very easy to do everything that you need to do. Coming back down here, so this is our throttle quadrant. Right here, I have our throttles, flaps, everything. This is what we're going to be looking at here. So what we're going to do with this aircraft, I like to start engine number 2. So ignitions, you can keep in auto. We're going to go to run, and then when you go to click start, you don't have to hold it or do anything like that. It'll automatically do it for you. So I'm just going to use my mouse wheel and I'm going to click it once. 1000 to 1000. We come over here, battery pulls, shed bus comes off, fuel flow into ITTs. We got N1. And it would appear that I forgot to do the ADS probes. Make sure you put that on auto. Don't need any engine ice protection. Got a good start on number 2, so let's go ahead and do number 1 again. one 1000, two 1000. Battery pulls, shed bus is off. We have fuel flow into ITTs. Here comes N1. And that's a good start. Pressurization, so this is also very important, otherwise you're going to have some other problems. Pressurization mode, auto. ECS switch, put it on both. Cabin airspeed, select that how you want. You can set the temperatures however you want. So now your aircraft is ready to go. Disconnect your GPU. Come up here, taxi lights, strobes. Push back if you need it. If you're in an area where it's a little bit, you can just turn the aircraft without running anyone over or damaging any equipment. You're good to go. You can request taxi to your dedicated runway, and begin your flight. So ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for today's video. I have a full review of this aircraft coming up here soon. I'm still learning aspects of the aircraft and figuring out the landing. If you want to know more about this aircraft, do make sure to leave a like, drop a comment down below which OBS startup you want to see next, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so when the review comes live and any other video comes live, you will be able to be notified for when it shows up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.